I'm the Grubstlodger, and although I've released videos about cat pianos, ornamental hermits, books that deserve to be better known, interesting TV series, there's one video that is far outperforming all the others. I wonder what it is about that one video. I need a video a bit more like that one. I need one with a strong, independent woman.
Strong, independent woman.
Who lives by herself, has lots of sex, and generally plays men around. And is written by Andrew Davis. I need Moll Flanders. This is that most rare of things, an ITV costume drama. It's an even rarer thing, a good ITV costume drama. It's the rarest thing of all, a good ITV costume drama that does not involve the Napoleonic Wars in any sense. This was written by Andrew Davis, just coming off of Pride and Prejudice, but before Bleak House and Fanny Hill. It starred a then unknown actress called Alex Kingston, and I'm going to be reviewing it today.
Spoilers!
Before we deal with the TV adaptation, let's have a look at the book. Moll Flanders is written by Daniel Defoe. This is the same Daniel Defoe who did Robinson Crusoe. Now, he started writing long fiction quite late in his life, and in 1722, the same year he wrote Moll Flanders, he also wrote A Journal of the Plague Year, which is a sort of journalistic mock-up of real events. It's not exactly true, it's a sort of reimagining of the truth. Think kind of Super Size Me, the film, not the documentary kind of idea. And Colonel Jack. Now, Colonel Jack and Moll Flanders have quite a lot in common. They're both about a young, very poor person who then goes into a life of pickpocketing and end up getting shipped off to America and learn their ways. This book, Moll Flanders, is better than this book, Colonel Jack. This is because, well, once Colonel Jack finds God, really early in the book, actually about halfway through, he just loses his spark. The same thing happened to Cliff Richard. Moll Flanders, she finds God quite later on, and I think finds it more believably, but we'll get into that. So, Moll Flanders. Technically, the title of the book is this: The Fortunes and Misfortunes of the Famous Moll Flanders, who was born in Newgate and during a life of 60 years beside her childhood was 12 years a whore, 5 times a wife, whereof once to her own brother, 12 years a thief, 8 years a transported felon in Virginia, at last grew rich, lived honest, and died a penitent, written by her own memorandums by Daniel Defoe. There is a reason for these long titles. When you used to go to sort of the area around St Paul's Cathedral, which is the main sort of bookshop area of London at the time, you tended not to buy bound books. They'd have sheets of paper and that title would be at the front, and so it would serve as the blurb as well as the title. That's why you get these long titles. It's also why you often get very long chapter titles, because that might be the next sheet, and so you can look through it and think, oh, do I want to read a book about somebody who is 5 times a wife once to her own brother? Ooh, yes I do.
What would you do?
You can see why ITV went for Moll Flanders. As well as featuring a
strong, independent woman,
it also can present itself as something of an anti-costume drama. Andrew Davis's previous costume drama had been Pride and Prejudice. That is the most costume drama-y of all costume dramas that could be. It's featured in the late 18th century, the cusp of the 19th century. That kind of genteel, high-collared, how do you do kind of sensible times. Moll Flanders takes place in the early 18th century. The Grub Street, hackabout, rough and tumble 18th century. They can make it look ugly. They can make it sexy. They can make it almost whatever they want because people don't particularly know the story. Now, the story itself, very, very standard for a Mr. Defoe book. A person does stuff. Indeed, it's a bit difficult whether you could really call him a novelist. He doesn't have that novelist's eye for things. He has a reporter's eye. He is really a journalist. And in this case, a journalist who is making things up. But look at how he makes things up. I've just opened it at random here, and I have accounts. See? And this is her working out how she's going to live and pay for a child's living. For 3 months lodging in the house, including my diet, at 10 shillings a week. She's put that in, £6. For a nurse for the month and use of child bed linen, that's £1 10 shillings. For a minister to christen the child when it's born, and to the godfathers of the clerk, £1 10 shillings again. For a supper at the christening, if I had 5 friends at it, £1. For her fees as a midwife and the taking off of the trouble of the parish, £3 3 shillings. And to a maidservant attending, 10 shillings, causing a total of £13 and 13 shillings. Now, as you go through the book, there's a part where she becomes a pickpocket. And much like Colonel Jack, she tallies up her earnings as a pickpocket. She says, right, well, this piece of linen was this much, this watch was this much. It's realistic. He's very, very good at describing processes, is Daniel Defoe. He's very good at saying how you pick people's pockets. He's very good at saying how you vary things up so you don't get caught. He's not very good at emotion. And that's where this book falls down. And indeed, that is where the TV series really comes into its own. Starring as Moll Flanders, you have Alex Kingston. We all know Alex Kingston is great. You have Daniel Craig, actually looking like he cares a bit. You've got that guy from, what's it called, The Vicar of Dibley, who's pretty good. You've got a whole bunch of other people. You have this gorgeously voiced man.
Buggery, incest, bestiality.
And you have scenes like this.
Till I find you again, and I shall, Moll. You never knew me, and you never heard my name.
Jamie! Jamie!
Emotion. The thing poor old Defoe cannot write. And indeed the thing the story hinges on. It starts off where she's born in the prison and through a very intricate set of circumstances ends up living with her family. And there she is wooed by the older brother, and the younger brother wants to marry her.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered together here in the sight of God and in the face of this congregation, to join together this man and this woman in holy matrimony.
So she gets through that marriage, he dies, she leaves those kids. She tries a second marriage. She tries a third marriage where she goes off to Virginia. It turns out it doesn't work very well. The man is her brother.
She is a whore and a madwoman, and she shan't be near my children.
She tries a fourth marriage. That doesn't work so well either. It turns out they're both trying to con each other, but he is handsome Daniel Craig, and this being a modern TV adaptation, he is now the love of her life. Strangely, he kind of is the love of her life in the book, but she only realises this as it goes on. She doesn't realise it at the time. At the time, they're just trying to cheat each other, so that doesn't work. And then finally, she lives with Mr. Bland, who is bland. And at the end, she's run out. She's at her lowest ebb, and she starts to thieve. And this is the best bit of the TV series, and this is the best bit of the book. Because as I said, Defoe knows how to write this stuff. Here are some of the tricks you can do. Bump into someone. Pick up some other thieves' illegal gains. Just take shit. And here she is accosting a young girl.
Come. We don't want your mother to fret now, do we, miss?
This isn't the way.
This scene gets ugly.
Of course course it is. Come, child.
It's not the way, it's not the way.
Be quiet, child.
It's not the way, it's not the way. Who are you? I don't know you.
You be silent for a moment or you'll know more than you care to.
And this is actually what makes the TV show better than the book. Because, yes, the scene happens in the book, but it doesn't bring across that raw emotion, that unpleasantness of stealing from the girl. And it makes a really good use of the camera, because the next bit following is this.
Well, I was very lucky it was me she met and not some hardened criminal.
Yes, Moll Flanders does cajole, plead, address, flirt with the reader. But it works so much better in this TV adaptation. Another thing it does is it brings characters back. So that first man, the one she didn't marry, who was the older brother who fancied her, he comes back when she's in prison and gloats. He's now...
Mayor of Colchester now, Moll.
Whoop-de shit for him. In the book, she is converted back to Christianity, to a good life. I mean, this is partly helped by the fact she's already squirreled away all her ill-gotten gains, so when she gets to America, she can live as a rich woman rather than a slave. Yeah. In Daniel Defoe's world, you need money to be good. And is our world really that different? He is a very, very good writer. He is also a very flat writer. A very boring writer if you're not in the mood. I think the TV series works better because it conveys the ideas of the book. How she is led to these terrible things because she has no other way open to her. And also how she kind of enjoys it. That's what makes the pickpocketing bit so good. She's proud of her cleverness. She's proud of her wickedness in a way. And then in the end, she does well out of it. As a moral goes, it's a bit too real. I like it a lot.
We are all on the turning wheel of fate. Sometimes we make our own luck. Sometimes we need a little help. We all want to be good, and we all want to prosper. God grant you never have to choose.
This adaptation is much better than the Fanny Hill one. For a start, the character is just so much better. Fanny is passive, and she has to be passive for the book to work. But Moll Flanders is active. She actively goes out and seeks husbands. She actively tries to trick people. She actively steals. A lot of the active things she does are not very good. Are not very likeable. But the fact that she does something makes her so much better. And to the people that say she's a modern woman, I saw some making of documentary where they talked about how modern she is. She's not. Don't do her down by saying she's a modern woman. She's just a woman living when she does in the 1710s, doing what she can. You don't have to be modern to be active. And Moll Flanders shows that.
Why do you stare at me?
That's all